For my Zenith project, I did an experimental music visualizer, and I wanted to do a VHS overlay and filter, if you will. So that's what I decided to also do for my choice project. So it's really just an adjustment layer and one clip played again and again, and then something really cool I found with Adobe, which I'll get to in a sec. So the first thing was to find a VHS overlay um, of just the bars that play again and again, or that we see on screen. If I can find a frame that helps you kind of see it better. Yeah, so you have this frame right here. You can kind of see the graininess. You can see the bars a little bit. I know you can't really see the bars, but there's graininess and there's bars that move up and down. And I just played this clip again and again and again throughout the video. So that was the first simple thing to do. The thing that took me the longest was the adjustment layer. And here's kind of a before and after. Oh, so here's before, and then here's after. And what this does is this crops the video so it makes it more square. It makes it more of a VHS resolution, and it also adds some fuzziness and maybe a little bit of color distortion as well. So if I select the adjustment layer and I go to my effect controls, we can see that you can also change the frame rate, and you don't actually change the frame rate of the video itself, but you can make it look a little bit more choppy. So when we say we're changing the frame rate, you're really just adding another overlay to make it more choppy, if that makes sense. So there's that. I also added channel blur. I added it twice. I was going to add some blue color blur as well to distort the blue shades, but I decided not to because it looked a little bit too much like the 80s and 90s. That wasn't what I was going for necessarily. Like it looked like neon almost, and that wasn't really my vibe. So I went with just red. I put that up to 4% of color distortion, just enough to where it's visible. Just enough to where it's visible and you can see that there is a little bit of color distortion, and it adds to the VHS feeling. And then we also cropped it. Like I said, I cropped both the left and right side at 14%, so that way it has more of a square VHS resolution. And the edge feather also helps kind of make it more blurry on the outsides and not just a complete straight line with no transition. This helps it kind of transition off screen, if you will. And yeah, I think that's about it for the adjustment layer. So you have that on top of, or you have the overlay on top of the adjustment layer. And then I had a couple transitions. And this was the part that was really cool. This transition right here, where we have the gray bars moving up and down. This is a transition that Adobe added pretty recently from my understanding. So if we go to effects and you type in VHS damage, you'll see that there's this effect right here, or this transition, I should say. And so what this does is it gives you a bunch of different options of the pattern, the detune, like all this other stuff. And these are just different options you can do to make it look a certain way. They also have a surprise me button. And what surprise me does is it just randomizes what your output is or what it gives you. And so I just pressed it a couple times and it gave me this one, and I felt like it flowed with the music very well. So I used that right here to transition from the compilation and reel to the slightly narrative driven part for the outro. And then when we transition from the last bit of the VHS back to the menu, I used that. Added a couple sound effects here and there, but this is also just another overlay that I found, or another video or screen recording of VHS menu that I used for the outro. And yeah, that's basically it in terms of the visuals. So it's really just an adjustment layer that you can create. I had two different ones. One was for the compilation and the reel, and the other one was for this final shot at Battery Section in San Francisco, which was dope to film at. Shout out Benjamin Kryman. It was just the adjustment layer, the copy and paste of the overlay, and then the newly added VHS damage transition with Adobe. And that's how I made the visuals and the visualizer for my Zenith.